Alright guys, TacticalRab here again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And loads of news yesterday on Modern Warfare 2, the game that the CDL will more than likely be playing for 2 years on the bounce. Some pros though not particularly happy about some of the confirmations. Tactical, Sprint, Gunsmith and also Doors all seemingly returning here for this year's title. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. The Modern Warfare 2 beta, at least the PlayStation one, is pretty much starting today, I think, or tomorrow, something like that. And then next weekend, it's the beta for PC, Xbox, all that type of stuff. Firstly, to mention, though, there's this Call of Duty Next thing going on, which some pro players and kind of, personalities and players, effectively, streamers, have been invited to in California. Crimsix is going, which I'm sure is going to be fantastic entertainment. This, I thought, was especially funny, actually, because Hitch says, Crim texts Hitch on the plane, and he says, hey, pink hats are not for men. And then, well, I guess Hitch turns around thinking, okay, what's Crim on about? And he turns around in the next row. There he is. Crimsix himself is in the next row behind Hitch. This is Hitch in the bottom right. And let me just zoom in here on Crimsix's face real quick. It's just absolutely hilarious. I had to save this one for more meme potential in the future. Just fantastic content for all involved, really. But let's crack on to some of the things that got announced. So yesterday, Gunsmith at 2.0, they're back again. Look, it's not like I expected Gunsmith to disappear or anything, but I know that many would hope that, something like a Pick 10 might return. It makes sense. They're going to do this forever because it's with the Warzone stuff or whatever. And this is how it works. Honestly, I think you need like a PhD to actually fully understand how Gunsmith actually works. You've got all the different attachments. The one positive thing I think now is, at least in terms of what's happened in the last couple of years, is if you unlock certain attachments, they unlock for like all the weapons rather than having to unlock like all the 75 attachments for every single gun. They now, if you unlock one of them, they should be allowed for all the guns. So I think that should be a positive. They've changed some things around. They've got like an additional attachment slot now where the receiver goes. So I'm like, look at all these things. Honestly, look at this. The amount of attachments you can have. It's absolutely absurd. Now, and of course, over time, people will figure out what the best thing to do is for competitive, and that's what everyone will use for the entire season. So, whatever. Gunsmith is back again. No real surprise there. This just to show as well that there's some sort of perk packages going on. So, and also just to look at these, actually, because this on the left-hand side, looks rather similar potentially to Strong Arm. I don't know if these are actually perks for the weapon or if these are just perks for your actual character, but back in Ghost, you guys might remember there was a perk called Strong Arm where you could literally throw grenades further and reset the pin on frag grenades and stuff like this. That was a 1-point perk back in Ghost when they had a very different perk system, which was actually kind of fun looking back on it. But yeah, Strong Arm was actually quite a usable perk in that game because there were certain situations where you might want to throw a smoke and you couldn't throw it where you wanted it to if you just had the normal ability, but if you put Strong Arm on, then you can absolutely launch that bad boy. So maybe that's a viable option this season if utility like that actually comes back, because smokes and search and destroy were always good fun. But yeah, Exclusive Ace does indeed say there's no more grinding to the max level just to get the meta optic, all this type of stuff. Unlock them once for one gun and then you have them permanently unlocked for every gun in the game. So I suppose that's a good thing, really. But I think understandably many echoing the opinion of look, Pick 10, man, what did we have? We had Pick 10 in a couple of titles. We had Pick 13, I think it was, back in Advanced Warfare, but I think they included score streaks in that or something like that. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, Pick 10 is not coming back anytime soon. This was obviously the beautiful days of Black Ops 2, as Carly points out, and this was getting a lot of traction. And there's some other things as well that they've changed over the years. I don't really see why they needed to, but whatever it is, what it is. Also, grip on the Scar H, not the way to go, because grip did basically nothing in that game. Shout out those who watched Drifter and his content back in the day. This is the more important stuff, really, with regard to competitive play, though. Tactical, Sprint, and Doors are coming back. It's official. There's also this other thing about walk speed that I'll explain, because that's a bit of a strange one anyway. So lots of reaction to this. Tactical Sprint, firstly, is back in business. This is something, in fairness, we expected, but it just seems like a bit of a useless mechanic. I don't really see why we need Tac Sprint and Sprint. Why can we not just have one sprint, one run, and then one walk option, effectively? But yeah, Tac Sprint is back. Now, Doors are also back. These were the bane of my existence back in Modern Warfare 2019 when they were first added, and obviously since then they've come back in force as well. Pretty much every single map. You guys remember in Modern Warfare 2019 when they brought Crash back, and we were like, okay, damn, Crash, pretty good COD 4 map, good search and destroy map, might be viable for competitive, and then they just chucked Doors on every doorway, and it's like, well, now this map is unplayable. Now, there was an option, I think, in Vanguard to turn the doors off, right? And you could just deactivate the doors, but I think it was super glitchy where some people would be seeing doors, some people wouldn't. It was an absolute mess. And also, if you deactivated all the doors and all the destructibles in Vanguard, then the maps were like way too open, effectively. Like there was no, like nothing blocking lines of sight, so the maps weren't really designed without doors in mind. Now, hopefully this title, things are a little bit different to that. And some have been suggesting actually that there are far fewer doors than there were in previous games, so I suppose that can only be a good thing, really. But we'll see about that. This is the weird walk speed thing. Now, I believe this is just for keyboard and mouse, because obviously if you're on controller, you can control how fast you walk, right? If you just push your stick forward a fraction, you'll walk really slowly, just like crawling along effectively. And then if you push it a little bit further forward, you'll start to walk a bit quicker, and then it'll go to running and then go to sprinting if you press it down. Now, walks, of course, on like keyboard or mouse, you can't really control that. You can either move forward or not. So you can select your walk speed. Now, this is interesting though, that footsteps are completely silent while you're crouching and walking with a scale of 25 or lower. So I imagine this kind of corresponds over to controller as well, where if you push your stick forward and you're moving at less than 25 of whatever the movement speed is, let's say, I guess, sprinting or running is 100. If you're moving at just 25, then you're completely silent, which might mean something, right? Just because, yeah, dead silence is probably coming back as a field upgrade, and hopefully Ninja as a perk will return as well. But you can be completely silent if you're trying to sneak up on someone if you move really slowly, which I think is at least a good thing in theory, because back in Modern Warfare, the frustrations of trying to, you know, just crouch around and still make an incredible noise while going up staircases and stuff was absolutely absurd. So thankfully that is going to get fixed in this title, it seems, from what it was a couple of years ago. Now also these options are returning, so Tactical Sprint is officially back. I'm sure like Auto Tac Sprint will be an option as well. The pros probably will say you can't use it though, because like look, Doug has been saying for the last couple of years they should gentleman's agreement the automatic tactical sprint option, because pros say, well, it reduces the skill gap if people have ATS on, gives everyone great movement, but then Doug says, look, it's killing these players' hands, and Simp seems to agree with that. We'll see here in a second. There is also the option though for single tap sprint, single tap run. I'm pretty sure they had this back in the day as well, so there are some things that are the same, some things that are different, but as you can see, yeah, tactical sprint behavior, automatic sprint, it's all here, it's all the same stuff as we've seen before, so yeah, no real surprise. And Doug is not happy. He doesn't want tactical sprint to be back. Like, I'm sure like Doug's gonna crack on and adapt and get used to it anyway, but you know, he also, with the doors returning, this is a bit of a frustration point, because yeah, doors maybe not the best competitive feature that we've ever seen in the game, but it must be said it's going to be rather interesting with tac sprint returning, but no slide cancel in a way. Like actually Donny Temp was saying here that the slide is rather similar to how it was in Ghost. If you guys remember, like you know, a couple of, well, several years ago now in Call of Duty Ghost, when the slide mechanic was effectively a defensive mechanic, you would use it to slide around the corner, get away from a gunfight, but you can never use it in the middle of a gunfight or to get into a gunfight because your gun wouldn't come up in time. So Donny reckons that effectively if you sprint and then slide in this game, you can also dolphin dive in the game, but if you slide, your weapon goes down and it's nowhere near as effective, right? So with tactical sprint but no slide cancel in the game, if you try and slide, your weapon takes ages to come up effectively, then you know, I think it might be a very different movement system that we feel like we're actually playing with in terms of what is the meta movement mechanics, just because of no slide cancel. I think it does make a big difference.
We should have slide, but no slide cancel. Slide's like how it was in Ghost, where like you put your gun goes down. Like,
Okay.
Now, potentially some positive news with regard to doors. Ghosts of Hope has been doing plenty of leaks on this, and he reckons that, well, doors are few and far between in the maps that I'm aware of. So either this means there are some maps in the game that have very few doors and others that have a fair few, or it's like there's some maps that have a lot of doors and then other maps have like 0 doors. I imagine it's probably like, okay, there are doors in the maps, but there are few doors on each map, right? Which would be a positive thing, I suppose. Like, I'm just thinking back to Ramaza for Modern Warfare 2019. Every single doorway had a bloody door on it. Like, I cannot believe it. And some of them you couldn't get through, some of them you could. Like, there was, how many doorways were there with no actual door stuck there that you could open and close, like crouch open? It's just absolute nightmare. So hopefully in this title, at least, if they are bringing doors back, they are on only certain situations, because they make a nightmare to play the game, trying to get all these doors open and stuff, and destroy them and all the other things that go involved with that. If there are some doors in certain situations, like, I don't necessarily hate it, but apparently they are few and far between, which hopefully is a good sign at the very least. And I just wanted to mention this from Octane, right, because some reaction from the pro players here to what they've seen so far. Of course, some of these guys are flying out to California to play the game in the kind of beta build or the Call of Duty Next or whatever exactly is going on there. So I'm sure they will have some insight, they will be able to play it, but I'm sure the feedback that they will give will not necessarily be, well, either won't be implemented by Infinity Ward or won't be necessarily the most honest and straight up kind of analysis of what's going on, because Crim even said that he played the alpha build a while ago that they gave to him and he just played online, and he was like, yeah, this feels like it's been made for Android or iOS or something. Like, it didn't feel like a very refined and polished build, and you know, when you're there in person, you might give different feedback to how you might do elsewhere. We'll see what the pros have to say about it. But Octane says, look, I wish when I could just prestige in Call of Duty and pick 3 attachments for like guns. So I think that was kind of one of the key kind of frustrations with some of the pros, is just the way it's gone the last few years. The fact that now you've got this Gunsmith thing, you're picking 20 different attachments, like it's an absolute mess. You can't just pick, you know, even like Black Ops 3, for example, Afterburner, Blast Suppressor, you know, Fast Hands, Dead Silence, whatever, you know, chuck them on, and then put on your M8 with a reflex side, just stock a quick draw, and that's going to do you for the day. And it was just a straight up battle of who's the better player, as opposed to, you know, who can actually pick their attachments better and all this type of stuff. Because that's why I think games like Counter-Strike are so good, because everyone spawns in with the same loadout, right? You don't have anything, and then, you know, everyone starts from the same base point, rather than having to build an entire Gunsmith attachment or whatever. And even as Karma says in replies, prestige was such a little thing, but it made you feel like you're actually doing something. Racing prestige is one of the best things about old CODs. Like, I don't know the last time I've actually played a COD to even get a prestige, because you just don't feel any reward for going up the levels, I feel like, nowadays. There's also this reaction here from Simp, though, and I will share a quick clip here from Octane, but as he says on Tactical Sprint, shorten my career every time they add Tactical Sprint. I saw actually a kind of tweet that Simp did and deleted, talking about how he's got some like carpal tunnel syndrome symptoms in his wrist and his hands and stuff, which doesn't sound particularly good. And I think a lot of these players who play Claw, like, yeah, the Tactical Sprint, the double spamming of the left sprint button, like, I guess the side cancel, removing that if it is indeed gone, might help these pros out to some degree. But yeah, a lot of them are like, look, damn, playing this game day in, day out with Tactical Sprint and no auto tac sprint, if the pros continue to GA it, it's not going to be good for the longevity here.
So when we played the alpha, there were 3 maps, I want to say. I'm pretty sure there were 3 maps. One of them was actually good. I will say, I don't know if they're going to change it or if that's what we're going to get. One of them was legitimately a good map. So hopefully we get that at some point. We'll see. Invited to play the game tomorrow? No, I did not get invited to play the game.
I did also share that clip though there from Octane when he talks about the maps, and like, I don't really want to go into this map discussion, because definitely last year I remember when we heard the rumors there was going to be like, what, 16 maps coming out to Vanguard at launch, and we were like, damn, 16 maps, surely 4 or 5 of them will be good. Turns out we got, what, 1 good map in Tuscan, and the rest of them were absolutely terrible in general. So like, I'm not going to say anything this season, but apparently there's going to be 15 to 16 maps, and Octane says one good map out of the 3. He seems somewhat surprised that actually one of them was good, and yeah, he reckons that out of those 3 maps, one of them is actually decent. Maybe if we take that kind of ratio of 1 out of every 3 maps is good to the 15 or 16 maps that come at launch, then we might have a playable set of maps. But I'm not going to gas it up like I did last year for Vanguard. I'm just going to expect the worst, and then hopefully get well, pleasantly surprised by whatever Infinity will deliver. Now, this I thought was kind of frustrating. Back in March, Ghost of Hope said the classic minimap is returning, as in there is no, like back in Modern Warfare, the minimap didn't even work properly. Like, if you shoot your weapon, you don't even get to see the red dot on the map. Now, apparently they have now removed that, and they've decided, no, we're not going to listen to the feedback, and actually we're going to bring back the minimap as it was in Modern Warfare 2019. Like, look, I don't really understand why they persist in doing this and just ruining like classic things from Call of Duty that make absolutely perfect sense to keep them in the game. But you know, I guess they're going to probably bring back the radar perk or whatever it was that allowed you to see the minimap normally, so probably doesn't really affect competitive too much, but still not really sure why they bothered to do this. And well, some positive things just to mention to close out the video, because we heard the rumors that there was going to be like a firing range potentially returning. We've seen it in Advanced Warfare originally, World War II, Modern Warfare Remastered as well. These are great fun whenever they arrive, and apparently they're actually returning to this title. So yeah, firing range is returning. More intel to come over the coming days. So that's a good thing. I'm also hoping they get game battles integration into the game as well, because that was a key, like a really great feature of for a couple of years in COD, right? World War II, Infinite Warfare, when they had maybe another game as well, when they had like game battles integration into the game. That was such a good addition, and they just haven't bothered the last few years. So I'm really hoping that this game, especially because it's a 2-year title, they can actually implement that again, because definitely a good feature from back in the day. These are some of the players plus Crimsix that are attending COD next, so definitely I'm going to see how things are going there today and see what some of the reaction is from some of these players. But I mean, yeah, last year's reveal was arguably doomed from the start. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on the like button, tell us YouTube gods this is a good video, I just like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Everyone for being
Well, you can go back and, like you said, watch the VOD. That's how you can see it again,
no,
Maven.
it's Patrol.
It was pretty incredible. But all right, hey, map number 2. Game number 2, we're going to hop on in right now. It's going to be some Desert Siege action. Look at all the wind, Maven. It's just moving around.
Well, this one, I've been excited to see. I haven't personally played Patrol yet, but Hardpoint has been part of, you know, the Call of Duty Esports for a really long time. But now, to my understanding, it's like kind of one point, instead of it popping to set positions, it's just sort of a constant rotating Hardpoint.
You gotta be baked out of his mind or something.
I'm pretty excited to see, because I haven't